that's a real life scenario. Like I said, he's about to turn 21, so next 3-4 years, and that's his age group that does not check their email, right?
No,
so
and a lot of them don't even text anymore.
Right.
I have 2 daughters in that age range, and they say the only reason they text is for mom and dad.
Right.
They snap. That's how they communicate.
That's a good point too, because every time I get a text from one, I know he's either wants money or his mom's not answering his phone call, right? Yeah. So it's like, it's totally true. Like it's not a text isn't even going to work here in the next 5 years.
Yeah, they certainly don't like answering their phones. Mortgage, technology, mortgage. How do they go hand in hand? Well, we are bringing in our SVP of Technology, and we're not going to be talking about mortgage technology. We're going to be talking about technology that can benefit a loan officer, can benefit a consumer, can benefit a real estate agent. And this company hangs their hat on their tech stack. And I would argue it's one of the best in the industry in terms of innovative thinking and always staying out ahead. Tim Spencer, you run this department, so no pressure, but it's on you to keep this company out ahead.
Right.
So tell us a little bit, first off, about what it is that you do as the SVP of Technology here.
Can do. So first, I appreciate the kind words. I do think we do have one of the better tech stacks, just based on people coming in and kind of once they see what we have, going, hey, this is pretty cool. So kind of taking a step back, the role of technology, right? You think of mortgage, you don't first go to technology, right? There's like 15 other things you would think of before you get to the technology piece. But ultimately, for the loan officer, it's just making their job easier, right? And when people come in and we meet with them for that one-on-one training to kind of onboard, it's like, how can I help you close more loans, right? So you do that by, kind of pulling together some best-in-class technologies, or what we think is best-in-class technology, kind of, starting on that front end. What's the first thing the customer sees, right? That point of sale, right? And we partner with Simple Nexus, technically Encino now. They've rebranded, but and what we like about most of our technology, it's not just what that borrower sees at the beginning, it's what our realtors see or what our partners see, right? So all of our tech you can co-brand, whether it's the CRM or our post-close through Homebot or our point of sale through Simple Nexus. We have that co-branding that you can do, right? Because it's not just us that the borrower's going to be interacting with, it's that agent as well. So we try and streamline it at the beginning, right? Easy application, easy to get into the system. Take pictures from your phone, anything that a borrower or an LO would need to be mobile, right? There's a mobile app that comes with it. So we don't want our LOs tied to a desk, right? Most of the sales folks I know aren't numbers people, right? They're not trying to hit a bunch of things into a keyboard and have something happen. They want to be out creating relationships, right? So if you can, issue a pre-qual letter from a soccer game or whatever it is, we want to be able to provide that. And Simple Nexus at our point of sale does that. And then, really once it's ingested, right, it's how do we keep the borrower informed on what's going on with their transaction. We do that through our CRM, our marketing group, Chelsea. They do a real good job with that. She could probably talk a little bit better than me to that. But really it's just, hey, your loan's moving through the process, you're in processing, we've ordered appraisals, we've done, the underwriting's been completed, all of those things. And that's where it interacts with our LOS, which is Encompass, which I also manage. Just kind of keeping that borrower informed as it moves through, right? And then a big win for us, as I kind of take you through the life of the loan, is the hybrid closing that we've initiated, right? So when your loan's closed, we got you through the process, we want to make that closing as seamless as possible, right? So when COVID hit, we weren't sure if you were going to be able to do closings anymore, right? Like you might have to drive by and sign on your car, whatever. So now you can digitally sign about 95% of your closing package 2 days prior to the closing, right? So you get to that closing, you still got to shake hands, ask for that referral, which we hope we've created a referable process, meet with that realtor, meet with that borrower, but just get that handful of notarized docs signed, right? So again, what maybe it took an hour and a half in the past, now it's 20 minutes, right? Get in, hand them the keys. Hey, was this a cool deal? Can you send me more business? Or anybody that might benefit from my business, and ask for that referral. Yeah. So it's been really nice. We started, loan officers traditionally don't like anything new. We had about 50% adoption on the hybrids. Now it's month over month about 90%. Right? Wow. It just makes sense to everybody, right? Everybody likes it. Realtors like it. Yep. There's a portal that's created where you can communicate on closing times and earnest money and all of those things, which traditionally may have been a kind of a bump in the road with getting everybody on the same page. So it's been really nice. And then kind of the last piece, just to kind of through the whole life, is the post-close experience, right? Which is kind of what we've been focusing on more lately. Now that transactions aren't happening probably as quickly, just with the rate environment. When you close, you get pushed over to Homebot, which is a newer partner of ours. And what's really nice about Homebot is he keeps our LOs front and center in an environment where the borrower probably doesn't need a transaction maybe 6 months from now. Hopefully it's sooner than later, but when those rates come back down, what Homebot's done is it's kept you through a series of emails and some hyper-relevant information in this portal. Like what sales are in the area, what you can list your house for on Airbnb, do you have equity? If so, maybe can you do a cash out, those sort of things. It's positioned our LOs as the expert. So when rates do come down, that LO's been front and center, and the borrower's coming right back to them for that next transaction. So it's kind of down and dirty, our process from start to finish, right? We do have some other supporting tech, which of course we can get into. Yep. One being MBS Highway, which for most LOs is kind of a must-have.
Yep. Staying
on top of the market.
Everybody knows Uncle Barry.
Right. Barry Abib, he's done a couple events for us. We're pretty tight with Barry. But it's a must-have, right? It's alerts to lock for sure, but also positioning yourself as that expert, right? Whether it's charts or graphs or just informing your sphere of what's going on with the mortgage industry. So.
And Mortgage Coach, you mentioned.
Mortgage Coach, right. So Mortgage Coach, another good tool, especially in this kind of higher rate environment with, that cash out being maybe, 90% of people can't save money by doing a rate term refinance, right? They already got the 2.5 or the 3, but maybe they got a bunch of consumer debt or, car loans or whatever it may be that, maybe going to a 6.5 or 7 or whatever the going rate is. And rolling in some of that debt maybe makes sense. And so Mortgage Coach helps you do that, right? It lays out digitally and in a presentation, hey, here's the debt you're paying, here's what your new mortgage would be, here's your savings. If you put that savings right back towards your mortgage, you're not losing any years, you're actually knocking in that principal a lot quicker than you would think. So just another tool, in the tool belt to help our LOs, be in that position of expertise for our customers.
Anything that we're missing that we didn't list?
Oh, man. Let's see.
So we got Simple Nexus, Total Expert, DLOS, how it connects to Compass, Hybrid Closing, MBS, Homebot, Mortgage Coach.
That's our core right there. That's our kind of our must-haves. We do have some other supporting technology like Experience.com. The marketing group manages that, so you'd probably get into a little bit more with them. But that's just another way post-close to kind of get that feedback.
Testimonials.
Yeah, continuing to improve our process, right? Whether it's communication or, I had this document, whatever it was, we get that. Our leaders see that, good ones and bad. And it just allows us to kind of improve our process a little bit. So,
what I think about as you're describing all of this, and this first of all, this is incredibly important for everyone in the transaction. So I think when you're thinking about technology and mortgage, first of all, it's what is the customer experience, and technology makes the experience more seamless, easier. Let's just be honest, whether you like it or not, we've moved past the days of fax machines and having to drive our documents to the bank, right? We can now take a picture with our phone and scan. This is important. This is not just important for the customer, it's important for the real estate agent, because how the experience is for the customer is going to pass through to the real estate agent. And then, of course, as a loan officer, if you're not aligning with the company that has the tools, well, you're just creating more work for yourself. That's as simple as that.
Yeah, no matter how easy we make it, I explain this to when we bring in new people and we kind of talk about our process. No matter how easy you make it, it's still going to be super stressful for everybody involved, right? The biggest transaction of the borrower's life, maybe this is their first house. The realtor's going to be on you as well. We need to meet these dates and these deadlines and things. Anyway, it's a stressful process, right? So any little piece where if I can take a picture of my W-2 and upload it directly into the file as opposed to having to drive it to you or fax it to you or whatever, anything we can do, those little points along the way to make it, what maybe was a 45-day down to a 30-day or a 20-day process or whatever it is, those days you can shave off or just, makes it, that borrower goes, this wasn't terrible, right? I don't dread this process, right? I'm coming right back next time for that, for that next purchase or that refi or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's critical, in other words. And it's funny too because
it's table stakes too, right? Like,
big time.
I mean, you're not going to survive if your borrower's going to sign everything and hand it over to you, right? It's just, well, I can, do this by this guy down the street, right? So it's, at this point, it's a must-have, and then it's just kind of tweaking it just to make sure it fits your process and includes all interested parties the way that you want it to.
Yeah. I mean, it not only is it going to become a necessity in the future years, if it isn't already, but those next generation of home buyers, which is coming, millennials, Gen Z, this is going to be not a bonus. It's going to be, you're going to have it, or they're not probably going to transact with you.
100%. So I tell this story too. I know I don't look it, but I have a college-age kid, and he's, believe it or not, hopefully, is in the financial position to buy a house at some point in the near future, but he doesn't check his email, right? He has email, but that's just so he can sign up with the Instagrams or the, whatever. So, like, how do I get to this guy if he wants the mortgage, right? Like, how is he going to find us? And then once he does, how do I make it as easy as possible for him to get me things, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a real life scenario. Like I said, he's about to turn 21, so, next 3-4 years, and that's his age group that does not check their email, right?
No,
so
and a lot of them don't even text anymore.
Right.
I have 2 daughters in that age range, and they say the only reason they text is for mom and dad.
Right.
They snap.
That's
how they communicate.
That's a good point too, because every time I get a text from him, I know he's either wants money or his mom's not answering his phone call, right? Yeah. So it's like, it's totally true. Like, it's not, a text isn't even going to work here in the next 5 years.
Yeah, and they certainly don't like answering their phones.
That's funny.
I mean,
true. It's funny because it's true.
As we talk about that too, it's
scary,
funny because I've had these. I always debate Doug Shukar, who's the founder of the company, and he and I go back and forth in a fun way and about tech. And the funny thing is Doug always tells this story about how he had like this mobile fax machine, and that was the innovative thing at the time in the 80s. And it's kind of ironic because here we are now evolved, and I mean, gosh, imagine what it's going to be like 10 years from now.
Right.
I mean, it's questionable whether humans are even going to be necessary within the transaction. I think they will, but I think technology is so important to the process from across the board that you just can't minimize it. And again, if you're a real estate agent and you're choosing who you want to work with, you need to find a loan officer that has access to these things that make the process to shave a day or two, because that day or two can be all the difference in the world to a massively stressful ending to this process.
It's nice when you're making that offer to have that confidence that this lender meets deadlines, meets timelines. Because at the end of the day, I mean, that's what you have to hang your hat on it. We're purchase first here, that we're not going to miss a closing, right?
Yep.
So it's how can we, as technology, how can the technology help you not miss that, whether it's commitment date or closing date or whatever, and that's our role in the process. So.
Let's talk a little bit more about some of these, some of the tools that you discussed. And I want to start with the app. I do think that's incredibly important. Everybody knows what an app on their phone is nowadays. Right. And now you can not only apply directly from your app, you can scan the documents, you can get updates. Is there anything more that I'm missing about Simple Nexus and what it provides?
So it's kind of like a choose your own adventure for the borrower, right? Some people still want to go out to the web and apply, like on a portal, right? You can go to the web and do all this functionality.
Just because it might be easier on a desktop.
Right, desktop, you can scan, you got your documents by your desk, you scan them all in, you upload them to the portal, you're done, right? Some people don't have the desktop, right? So if you're a borrower that would rather apply, like you said, on the phone and take pictures of their docs and communicate back and forth through the chat feature, it's all there, right? Not just the borrower, the LO too, right? The LO doesn't want to be tied to a desk. I kind of mentioned that earlier, right? If you can price a loan, lock a loan, issue a pre-qual letter, communicate with your borrower, all those things traditionally you may have had to sit in front of a computer and your LOS to do, now you're out, hopefully, meeting with people and doing business at the same time, right? You don't have to segment the two, right? It's just full go at all points. So the app's been really nice, not just for that borrower experience, but for our LOs too, I think. And that kind of gets lost sometimes.
And realtors.
Correct. The realtors are also getting those updates. The realtors can redo pre-qual letters, right? So if we issue a pre-qual letter and they need to make an adjustment down or something like that, they have the ability to do that and request that. Again, with Homebot too, Total Expert, which obviously is our CRM, which all those co-marketed. You can share a borrower and post-close with Homebot, right? If you're the realtor on this transaction and you're an LO, you can kind of cultivate that customer together. If they have real estate questions, that'll go to the realtor. If they have loan-specific or mortgage-specific questions, that'll go to the LO, and you can kind of cultivate that client together at all points in the process, right? Because it is a team thing, right? If the realtor's not doing what they're supposed to do, the LO, the borrower's going to have that poor experience, so it does take all parties. So.
Yeah, agreed. I asked you off camera, what do you think gets the blood flowing the most of our either loan officers or consumers or real estate agents? And you said Homebot, right?
I did.
Now. Why?
It's our newest technology, so there's a little bit of that, right? The shiny new object. But talking to bigger producers, ones that I trust that have given good feedback in the past, they said, I wouldn't be able to operate without this at this point. It's become sort of I wouldn't say a crutch, but it's one of their key ways to communicate with borrowers that, again, may not need a transaction right now. What it does is it generates a lot of activity, right? So they get this email, it's a digest. Again, has a bunch of really relevant information to them. Anytime they're clicking on something or asking questions, it's coming right to the LO, right? So the LO is not actively having to reach out and ask them questions. That's happening for them. They're just responding to these inquiries that come in, and they're coming in frequently based on the feedback we see. And again, this borrower probably isn't going to do a transaction right now, but you've been communicating with them. And also, as they're responding back, it's kind of cultivating their journey a little bit too, right? So if they're asking about their equity, right, that kind of lets you know that they're like a trigger for maybe a cash out or something like that, right? So it kind of helps you kind of manage your day as an LO, right? You're not having to kind of scrub your database from an Excel spreadsheet. You just pop into Homebot, see who's been clicking on stuff, and follow up, right? And I think the payoff comes with that, and I've mentioned this a couple times, is once that rate environment comes back down, right? And they go, now when they see those rates in Homebot and what's available, okay. And then it's just, all right, and apply now button within the Homebot, and then we're off and running, right? So, hopefully sooner than later that it really starts to generate some new business for us.
I love that. So when it comes to tech, it's again, I think there's not much more we can say about this, but to be the leader of said tech and to be the one who's seeking this stuff out, are you like a video game junkie or something? Like, what coincides with this career path?
So I'm not a video game junkie, and quite honestly, I'm less, we call it techie, probably, than most people would assume.
Okay.
I think, honestly, my strength is being able to translate what the smart people have to say into what the sales folks, not that sales folks, I'm not insinuating they're any less smart, but translating, that's a good way to put it.
Layman's terms.
Okay, there you go, layman's terms, right? It's going, what just he said is, why is that important to me, right? And I think that, when you say manage, right, I may not how to code or do any of that stuff. I'm enough to be dangerous. But it's kind of it goes back to communication, which has kind of been the theme of this whole thing, right? It's being able to communicate effectively to the folks out there. This is why and I used to be in sales. I was not very good at it. This was probably 15 years ago. But having that experience and kind of knowing how a sales brain kind of works a little bit, as being that intermediary has kind of been my sweet spot.
So you don't play video games. What do you do in your free time? I
got a 7-year-old, so there's a lot of soccer.
7, 21.
Yeah, so stepson 21, right? So that's a college thing. We're navigating that. But I got a 7-year-old. I coach his team, so that's full time.
What sport?
Soccer. Awesome. And if I'll share a little bit on the 12th, I have to get a tattoo because we won our league, and I promised them that I would get a sidekick soccer tattoo if we won our league. And
where at?
Good question.
Like a tramp stamp?
I gave my tattoo guy logo's going to be about this big.
Man.
I'm thinking it's a leg somewhere.
Yeah, I like that.
It's still
back of the calf.
Yeah,
okay.
It's still a TBD on that one, but that is next Friday. Maybe we do a follow up. I'll share it with the folks. But
well, now if you watch this, now you can ask Tim. And that was the 12th of January.
Yeah, so not this Friday, but next.
And so at the time of this recording, but this won't come out for a while. The tattoo is going to be in place.
Oh, it's done, permanently affixed to some part of my body.
Awesome. So now you know that you need to tease Tim about his.
Correct.
Do you have any other tattoos? Is this your first one?
No, I've had a couple other ones, and that's how it came about. One of the kids on my team saw one of the ones I have, And somehow we got down this path. I'm like, yeah, you guys win this league, I'll get one. And sure, he reminded me the day we won the league that I told him that at one random practice, and here we are. So
What do you do for you?
for me,
Yeah.
exercise a little bit. I used to play a lot of sports, had a couple knee injuries, but I
Were you a
got
soccer player too?
was most of my life.
St. Louisan?
Correct, born and raised.
Where'd you go to high school?
Lindbergh High,
Okay.
who was just in the state final for soccer. They lost, but anyway, go Flyers. But yeah, I don't play as much anymore, so I do a little running, ride the bike, that sort of thing, just to keep active. But that's about it.
What about for fun?
Fun. So I don't know if anybody has any kids, the 7-year-old age, but your social circle is your soccer parents, right?
Yep.
So we're blessed with some good ones. So majority of my social life revolves around what can we do after the game.
Going to the bar?
Correct.
Drinking? Cool.
Shout out to Barrels on K. They're not a sponsor yet, but
work.
we frequent there quite a bit after the game. So
Awesome.
can I shout out Barrels on one of these things?
absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Do it.
Cool. Maybe we can show this
Publicity is good
to
publicity
Okay,
in
good.
this case. Yeah. I love it. So 2 kids, right?
Yep.
Spouse,
Yep.
I imagine. All right, awesome. You're a Lindbergh grad.
Yeah.
What's your go-to when you go to that bar? Like, what's your nightcap?
Ooh, nightcap. Ranch water? Familiar?
No, I've heard of it. What is it?
So we had it in Mexico. It's technically tequila and like some sort of soda. But it's like there's not much sugar in it, but it's tequila. It's a tequila beverage. And I'm back on that as
So what are the
of
mixers?
New Year's Eve.
What are
I'm
the
back
mixers?
on. There are none. It's just like this.
God.
I don't know what's in a traditional ranch water, but these just come in cans, and they're like kind of flavored. There's like spicy or whatever,
Yeah,
but
sure.
but no.
Oh, that
you can
sounds
have
like a
you can
push
have
on
at
your
least 6, 7, 12 of those before you tire of it. So it's
Or pass out?
correct. So speaking of, I was back on the ranch waters for New Year's, and anyway, I might not be drinking in January. So
Gotcha. So Jan 1 was a rough day.
yeah, correct.
Good for you.
So is January 3rd as well. So I'm not as young as I used to be, if that dates me at all. But hopefully this didn't get too personal. I don't know how far we were going on
No,
this.
I love that. And now, if you are a loan officer that needs to kiss his ass, you know what to get him.
Correct.
Maybe not in January, but you know what?
Correct.
Guess what?
February.
The podcast is
February
not
1.
coming out till February, so
All right.
ranch water it is. Thanks, brother.
Absolutely. Appreciate you.